Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the entree musician, and so are you. And I gotta tell you, today is going to be one of those conversations that you are going to rewind over and over and over again. In fact, this young man is so spectacular. We took him from the one show that we were doing, the Artist Impact. And I don't know how many of you are hip to Artist Impact, by the way. I will put the link in the description box for you, but we are rolling with Artist Impact. And this one man came on and really like devastated all of the panelists. It was pandemonium on set because he absolutely has it going on. His name is Josh Ritchie. He's from Ontario, Canada. And I'm telling you, you're going to love him just as much as I do. Brother, what's going on today, my friend?
Not too much. It's a good day. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited for this.
Well, we absolutely appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come on. And I guess the first question I would have for you, Josh, okay, is what the heck are you trying to do, man? Are you just trying to flatline the rest of us with that wonderful noise you're making, or what?
Yeah, I think really what I'm trying to do is just share my music with as many people as possible, really. Like I don't I suppose I do have plans
Mm.
um and ambitions and stuff like that, but really what they all kind of boil down to is just getting out there, sharing music, meeting people, and traveling, sharing my stuff and sharing what I have to say, and hoping that other people find it interesting or insightful or useful to them. And yeah, like I really, really, I just hope that I can do for some people what my influences did for me, and just
Mm.
like open their eyes to a whole new world, whole new way of thinking of things, and just yeah, just try and leave a little piece of me with everyone that I can get access to their ears to, I guess.
Well, I tell you what, you definitely, like I said before, you flatlined us on Artist Impact. And I
Thank
think
you.
there was a lot of influences. You spoke of that just a second ago. But who did you grow up listening to? Because my understanding of your story is that from the time that you could walk, you had an instrument in your hand. So,
Yeah.
how were you exposed to music? Was that through your dad, or tell us the story about that?
Yeah, so my dad was in a touring band called Tanglefoot that
Mm.
was kind of like a folk roots band. They toured all around Canada, the US, and a little bit of Europe. Um, and like music was just always around. Like any family vacation we went on was just following dad around on tour.
Yeah.
Um, and so music was always close, but to me. But when I was getting a little bit older, like past kind of infancy stuff,
Hmm.
my mom bought me a U2 CD for my birthday, back when CDs were kind of a thing.
You too.
uh,
You too.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that blew my mind.
Wow.
Like hearing, I can't remember what the album was specifically. I think it was like a best of kind of thing.
Hmm.
But when I first heard like Sunday Bloody Sunday and
Yeah.
the songs that were really like about stuff that mattered,
Hmm.
that like blew my mind, and my very young mind. Um, and yeah, ever since then, I was really into music with a purpose, and music
Hmm.
that's really about things,
Yeah.
not all like politically or protest songs or just stuff like that, but something that really there that has a point to be written. Like
Sure.
there's something that the artist has to say,
Yeah.
and just has to get out into the world, and that really struck home with me.
So you
Um,
you like that music with substance and
exactly. Yeah.
essence, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, keep going. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, don't
I
be.
feel
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So that really opened, and it also kind of opened my eyes to like rock and roll kind of thing, which is sort of the world I feel I am in now.
Hmm.
Um, and from there, I got into like some of the more classic stuff, like the Led Zeppelins and the Pink Floyds, but then also got into sort of like some new wave stuff and
Yeah.
some like oh man, it's escaping me right now, but some
Sure.
new wave stuff and some like alternative rock stuff. And like nowadays my music taste is all over the place. Like it doesn't genre doesn't really matter to me as much as
Certainly.
like what you said, the essence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like yeah, on my record collection I've got like some Miles Davis, some Nina Simone, some Stevie Wonder, some
Absolutely.
Jethro Tull, some Pink Floyd, some U2, some Mumford and Sons. Like I'm all over the place, man. Yeah, and just like as I kind of got more into playing music and writing music, I just like saw anything I can listen to as an opportunity to learn from and
Hmm.
kind of steal stuff from.
Sure.
Um, and like yeah, so like I love to sort of cross genres and steal little elements from other stuff and kind of see how I can make it work for me. Um, yeah, like it's all just tools of expression that I
That's
just and
right.
I want to collect them all kind of thing.
That's right. You know, it's really interesting because one of the panelists on the show, again, I'm plugging the show, as you can tell, because I want people to check out the episode that you're on. But one of the panelists, Orlando Watson, made a reference to you being like the second coming of Prince because you do
Yeah,
dive into all of those things, and you said even with respect to new wave. But did you? Well, let me recite this quote from Prince, which he said, you know, that great musicians borrow, but the best musicians steal. So I heard you say that
yeah,
twice, that you
yeah.
actually was stealing things in order to make this organic blend of your music. But what do you call your sound? I mean, with all of the, from Jethro Tull to Stevie Wonder, what do you call the Josh Ritchie sound? Do you have a definition for
That's
it?
a very good question. It's I kind of think um of it as sort of like reminiscent of the kind of like 60s and 70s singer-songwriters. Like the early Elton Johns, the
Mm.
Joni Mitchells, the Peter Gabriels, the even Prince and like that kind of thing. Cause like I like to hit sort of both ends of the spectrum. Like I'll
Yeah.
do an intimate little one instrument voice kind of tune, but then also we'll do like super souped up hardcore rock and roll stuff.
Hmm.
And I like to not only like record that way, and uh, uh, put like tracks down that way and kind of stuff, like some live off the floor stuff and some heavily multi-tracked stuff. But
Yeah.
it's also something I like to put in my live shows. Um, so like just recently we did a live show where I started a second set, just myself and an acoustic guitar with just like one condenser mic right in front of me, kind of bluegrassed it, really intimate, really kind of soft to just to switch stuff up and to hit another sort of like angle of
Who you are.
expression and emotion.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I think that yeah, it's just kind of like ambitious singer-songwriter stuff, if you will. I think that like in sort of today, you think of a singer-songwriter as one dimensional kind of one thing, like coffee house kind of
Hmm.
small stage kind of thing. But like it's definitely more reminiscent of those like singer-songwriters with a bit of gravitas and a bit of bit of bit of bit of bit of everything really. Like
Yeah.
we'll throw recently I've been working on stuff where I am doing some orchestration,
Hmm.
which is going to be a whole nightmare how to figure out how to do live, but that's future me's problem. um, and yeah, basically it's kind of an amalgamation of stuff, but it's very story driven, it's very emotion driven,
Hmm.
like art rock, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question then. How old were you when you put your first band together? When you said, okay, I'm blown away by the U2, Sunday and Bloody Sunday, and yo, this is music with essence. How old are you? Are you 12? Are you 14? When are you saying, this is it? this is the direction I'm walking in, and there was no looking back?
It wasn't until a bit later, actually. So as much as I loved U2 at the time, I really wanted to be a soccer player. And
Oh.
that's what took up most of my time when in sort of like my early teen years.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got hurt pretty bad and couldn't play for a good 2 years. Um, and as a high school graduation present, my mom bought me tickets to go see U2's Joshua Tree reunion tour in Toronto.
Oh.
And that moment, I think I was 17, 18 at the time. And that's when I was really like, yo, this is actually, I think, who I am and what I want to be doing. And I just remember, I still get chills thinking about it now, but I just remember the energy of like 80,000 people just all singing the same lyrics. Like, we don't know each other. We don't know what our backgrounds are. We don't know anything. But
Absolutely.
in that moment, we're all family, and we're all having a great time. And I was just like, I want to do that. I want to do that. Yeah. So first band, it was interesting where I grew up. Playing music, playing instruments, singing and stuff like that was so not cool.
Really?
Like, it wasn't something I broadcast a lot to like my peers and friends and stuff. Like I sang in a choir, kind of all throughout high school, but like I wouldn't tell any of my friends that because they would just roast me.
You gotta unpack that. Okay, why is that? Was that just a culture? Was that a guy thing that playing instruments? Why is that uncool?
I'm not really sure. I think it was kind of the culture of where I grew up, a little bit, and like I was in a lot of like sort of sports circles where it wasn't. I guess it wasn't that cool to sing in a choir with a bunch of old ladies. But
that was your passion, though. That's what you.
I loved it. I loved it. Like, it was amazing. Like that we'd close down our local tea shop afterwards, chatting, like gossiping after. It was amazing. I loved it. But yeah, it wasn't something I was super open about in high school, except for in the music classroom. Of course, I always took music in high school, mostly at first it was just because it was like an easy good mark for me. But as we really got into it, I fell in love with it, and I put more of myself into it, and I started bringing in my guitar and sharing little tunes I wrote, and singing in front of my music classmates and stuff. So it was sort of like very sheltered at first.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anyone to like make a band with. Or anything. Like nobody was keen. So I kind of had to be a solo artist. So I started off just writing kind of acoustic guitar songs and going in that way. And then when I got my first part-time job and had a little bit of like spending money, and that's when I really got into the electric guitar stuff and effects pedals and amps and like just getting addicted to that kind of stuff. And then I started like experimenting with my sound kind of thing. It was always pretty easy because my dad was a keyboard player and like backup singer and stuff. So like he was right there. So it was naturally, he just started playing with me too. And at first, just because like I would be jamming on something in my room, and then he'd start jamming on the piano in the front room, and I'd be like, oh, that's cool. And then we'd come out, and it would just kind of happen naturally.
Wow.
And then as I started like getting a little bit more serious, I added our drummer Beaker Granger, who played in another band with my dad, and we've always just been like, we've got along so well. It was like just so natural to like have him join us. And he's an awesome drummer and just like a great guy to be on the road with. Like, so yeah, like we've gotten into some good fun trouble out there on the when touring around and stuff. And then just recently we added Curtis Yacht, our bass player, who used to play in bands with Beaker way back in the day. And like, he just seamlessly slipped into our dynamic. And like, we've only been playing with him for like just less than a year, but it feels like he's been there the whole time. Like, I love him to bits. He also is a guitar builder. So he built himself a bass guitar.
Wow.
and just recently built me a guitar. So like at our last show, we were playing our matching bass guitar and handmade guitars, and it was like just such a cool thing. Um,
That's
but
beautiful.
yeah, the band has kind of grown as needed kind of
Hmm.
thing. And just out of circumstance, really. Like it was never really like, here we formed a group. It was more just like, come on in, like the water's fine over here, hop right in, like let's make some noise together.
That's amazing. And the band is tight. I mean, and watching your videos and whatnot. So you have some seasoned musicians and it's almost this multicultural, multi-generational type
Yeah,
thing. So you can draw from a lot of different places because they've known that music and grew up with it and you're being exposed to it and you guys can just blend it together.
yeah,
It's
it's
really
like a
cool.
really cool um like combination of sort of like Curtis and I, who are a bit younger, and we're kind of like doing the in touch with the more modern things, like we're building gear and experimenting with soundscapes like that. And then
Yeah.
we've got like seasoned veterans that can just lock it down, and
Yeah.
like it's so easy to teach them a song, like,
Sure.
and they're up
Sure.
for anything. So I can throw at them like, oh, here's this weird song. It doesn't really have a time signature or a key, but here's how it goes. Let's give it a go. And in a
Right.
few takes, we're getting there, you know.
Ah.
And it's just fun. Like yeah, it's just good fun.
That sounds fantastic. Now you came out with your first EP back in 2019, Louder, and you have your new offering now. What's the in your mind? I think from a listener, I can tell the different nuances. But how do you think that you've grown as a musician, as a
Yeah,
songwriter between the two projects?
yeah. The first album, I was pretty young. Like I was 18, 19 when I was
Mm.
writing that. Um, and I think you can kind of tell, like they're kind of like young man's problems in a way, um, that I was kind of writing about on that one. And I still love those songs, and I still like love to play them live, and like they always go over really well. But
Yeah.
my newer stuff is, I always think the first album was about me, and the second album is kind of more about the world.
Mm.
Um, and like it's less me centric and more like us centric, and
Gotcha.
how we interact with each other and how things are going well and not well in those regards, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's less like me kind of thing. um yeah, I think that, like, obviously COVID had a big part to play in that.
Sure.
um yeah, there's a lot of songs on my second album inspired by Black Lives Matter stuff.
Hmm.
That was something that was happening in my life at that time. I'm pretty pale in this lighting, but I
Yeah.
am biracial.
Hmm.
My mom is black and my dad's white,
Hmm.
and I grew up in a really small town in Ontario. So, like, I was the black kid
Hmm.
until my brother came to school with me, really. Um,
Right.
so yeah, so a lot of those experiences came out in that record.
Hmm.
Things that I hadn't even really stopped to think about myself
Yeah.
in my in sort of my childhood and stuff,
Hmm.
that really came to light uh, when the Black Lives Matter movement was really cooking in
Hmm.
2020.
Yeah.
Um, and we actually helped organize a Black Lives Matter march in our small town in Ontario,
Hmm.
which is like 800 people or something. And like 400 people showed up, which was
Mm.
huge.
Hmm.
And like it was a really positive and like embracive experience.
Hmm.
We got our First Nations community involved too, which was really, really great, I think.
Hmm.
And we just kind of shared stories, and obviously marched and protested, but it was it was a healing and learning space a lot too.
Mm.
And that inspired a lot of songs on the record as well.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So it's a little heavier
Yeah.
than the first, that's for sure. Um, but yeah, it was stuff that really had to get off my chest the
Hmm.
second. Yeah.
That's what an artist is supposed to do, is to express themselves from their experiences, and as you said before, not be so myopic, but that again comes with
Yeah.
age. I like what you said about the from me to us evolution, which is very,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, tell me this then. What have you learned? I would say that, you're not so far removed from your early 20s that you're
Yeah.
still in this learning space. But what have you learned as an entre musician, as an entrepreneur musician who has to embrace not only the artistic, creative, expressive side, but the business? What are you finding that are growing pains as you build your music business?
Yeah, that is a great question. It
That's why I'm
is.
here. I'm here to ask great questions, just so you know.
Yeah, I think the biggest growing pain is probably just like the ability to tap into buzz for me.
Hmm.
Like there are times when stuff's going great. I don't have the best like business mindset.
Hmm.
So I really struggle to kind of make those business connections and those networking decisions. I'm not very good at like plugging myself,
Sure.
really. Um, and I've never seen music as a competitive endeavor either. Like it's
Right.
always been a collaborative thing. But you kind of like there are times when it has to be a little bit competitive because again, it is a business, and like
Sure.
you have to make those calls sometimes.
Right.
And that's I'm learning so much, and I'm making mistakes and learning from them.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
good.
the most important thing um, I have to remember, and like any musician has to remember that are trying to get out there and do it yourself, is like you're gonna hear a million no's a day,
That's
like
good.
and and like that's okay. That no doesn't mean you suck. No just means you're staying put right now. Like that didn't like you didn't take a step in that
Right.
moment, but that's okay because there's lots of steps to take,
That's right.
and there are lots of steps that will want you to take them.
Correct.
Um, and yeah, it's just really kind of the balance between like maybe balance isn't the right word, but the sort of like pushing yourself to try new things and do new things, but not getting discouraged when they don't work out, and
Gotcha.
just like really holding true in what you do and believing in yourself, basically,
Yeah.
that things will be okay. Because sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not,
Right.
um, and you just gotta kind of ride the highs and just like embrace the lows. Really, like they're a part of it. You can't get rid of them, unfortunately, as much as we would all love to just like blow up every day and every day be a raging success. It's not
Right.
the way it works. So you got to just like, I found what's really important is I have to like take breaks
Mhm.
and and pursue other things,
Mhm.
um and like not put so much onus on like every day I gotta be crushing it. And
Yeah.
like sometimes if you're not, especially when it's not going well,
Yeah.
sometimes it's best to just have a rest day or two
Yeah.
or something, and
That's
just
right.
like just
Regroup.
like I'll go play with my dog or like hang out with my
Yeah.
brother or do something to just kind of like ground myself a little bit.
There you go.
That's Yeah, that's really something I'm still working on now because it's very easy to get wrapped up in the whirlwind of it all.
That's right. That's right. No, that's very good, and it is a learning process, and you do fail forward, and you do learn that hey, just because this particular person said no, they're not rejecting me. It may not be the song may not be right for the project or what have you. I
Yeah,
mean, so it's all a learning curve. I'm
Yeah.
glad you expanded on that. Now, how often does Josh Ritchie get to play in the States? Are you more confined to Ontario and Canada, or are you coming across the line and hooking us up over here in the U.S.?
We're working on it. We are working on it.
Oh,
We've got some. We had kind of a weird year. We all actually got COVID
oh my.
pretty bad, and it kind of like pushed us back like a good couple months
Hmm.
on all our plans and stuff. So we are looking at some touring in the States. I've never actually been out of country yet with this act or anything.
Hmm.
Um, but it's really something I'm looking forward to. We are, yeah, it's really early stages. We're just kind of looking at how feasible it is and how like affordable it is in this kind of market.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it's something that it will happen very soon, and I'm really looking forward to getting to getting to really take the show on the road. And like I've toured a bit around Ontario and stuff, but like to properly get out there and to like I'm so excited to start doing that kind of thing.
Well, you have a great crew behind you. Your videos are magnificent, man. You want to tell us a little bit about your team?
Yeah, so um we just started working together on a bunch of other projects too. They're called CTRE Productions here in Owen Sound. Um and they are awesome.
Yeah.
Like just the coolest group of people I've ever had the pleasure of working with. We actually just got back from live streaming an event like at like 7 a.m. last night. Um, it was the big Canadian live events conference kind of thing,
Hmm.
and yeah, we had a blast down there. Met a bunch of cool people and got to show off kind of what the CTRE crew do. And yeah, like they are amazing. So that video was in their studios, and it's mostly live mix right off the floor. Like we just played the song, and
Hmm.
as we played the song, they were up in the control room. They're cutting, they're crossfading, they're zooming, they're getting all the shots they need. We did go back and do some overlayers for some close-ups on solos and stuff, but it's mostly all one take,
Wow.
which was something I really wanted for that song and that video. I really
Hmm.
wanted to like um like we kind of talked about a little bit on the Artist Impact show, the build of it.
Yeah.
I really wanted to capture that. That's the whole magic to that song. And
Sure.
they just knocked it out of the park.
Wow.
We had some production meetings, we chatted it out, we designed it all, and then they just came in on their end and crushed it.
Wow.
Yeah, they're just awesome to work with, and I'm so excited to get to work with them more. Really,
I understand it. Well, tell me about Josh Ritchie in the studio. You are a multi instrumentalist. On stage, you're mostly on guitar, but in the studio, I guess you're all over the place. What are you doing?
yeah. So, especially on the second record, I
Hmm.
played. That was before we had our bass player Curtis join us. So I
Okay.
was playing bass on all that, and it was in the middle of COVID. So Beaker couldn't come and drum for me. So I bought a drum kit, and I played a little bit of drums in high school, but that was a good few years before I started this recording project. And yeah, I picked it back up, and I there were some heavy edits in it, let me tell you. But yeah, I was playing drums, I was playing bass. Dad did most of the keyboards. I think I played some keyboards. We can't actually remember
Yeah.
who did what. Anything complicated, he did. Um, and yeah, guitar and vocals, and I think that's all that's on that one. It's kind
Mm.
of yeah, but yeah, I do like to. I love the studio. Really, I love the studio. I have a great home studio set up, so I can really like flesh out an idea when it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And I love being able to just work slow
Hmm.
and get the right sound. Like we were, uh, my bass player Curtis and I were doing some stuff just a few days ago, and like we were in there for 6 7 hours, and I
Right.
think only about like 45 minutes of that was actually playing and recording, and the rest of it was just getting the right sounds. and
Right.
like
Right.
we were like kind of excitedly tearing our hair out, like tweaking little things, moving mics around, trying new stuff, trying unorthodox stuff. Like I just
Right.
love that whole process of
Yeah.
like really deep diving
Mm.
in driving myself crazy trying to get the sound I hear in my head to come out of the speakers.
That's exactly
Um,
right.
yeah, but yeah, I love every process of recording. I kind of have a background in like audio engineering, and
Mhm.
I'm getting into producing other artists
That's
as
good.
well.
Yeah.
And it's just so much fun to like. I love hearing a song and trying to take it somewhere.
Oh
And
yeah.
like my dad is working on a solo album right now, and I've been lucky enough to help him and produce that record and stuff. And like some of the stuff we're doing is awesome, and I'm really excited for people to hear it. And I'm really excited that he trusted me with his songs and stuff. Um, yeah, and we've got another couple projects lined up. My bass player Curtis has some songs that we're about to go
Mm.
record like later this weekend.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, I've got a couple other pals in music that we're talking about doing some stuff
Mm.
together. And yeah, I love every bit. I love the mixing and the like. I love to kind of see a song all the way through.
Yeah.
Um, like it starts with whatever it starts with, a little hook or lyric or whatever, and then it becomes like a campfire one instrument kind of thing to kind of get the layout of it. Then we start to get into the band arrangement, then into the production and the mixing, and then off to mastering. And like I love to watch it evolve and really like nurture it all the way through.
Yeah.
um yeah, it's just yeah, it's too much fun. If I could be in there every day, I would.
I can dig it. I feel your passion for it. I was going to ask you that question with respect to your songwriting. Do you find that the music comes first for you, or do the lyrics come first?
That's an interesting one. I think I'd almost say more often than not they come together.
Mm.
Um,
Okay, that's
and it's
interesting.
sort of like uh, a chorus or a verse
Mm-hmm.
melody will come to me with a few lines or
Mm-hmm.
at least a cadence of how I want it to sound.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it often starts that way, and then I can build a chord progression or whatever around it and kind of tweak both lyrically and musically as it evolves. Yeah, that happens more often than not,
Mm-hmm.
um, for me at least. Sometimes, not always. Like sometimes I'll just be jamming on a guitar or something, and uh, come across something that I'm like, oh, that has potential, and I'll kind of like lock it away in my brain or like make a little voice memo or something that I have it
Right.
kind of in reserve when it's needed.
Right.
Same with lyrics. Like I just have notebooks everywhere where I'm always scribbling down like we could be like what I could be like watching a show or something, and
Of course.
like a phrase or something that makes me think of a thing that
Yeah.
could be a lyric, and I'll jot that down and save it for later kind of thing. But yeah, it's not an exact science the way I write a song. It often is by accident. Like I'll be like oftentimes like I'll be driving home from my little recording setup at our family cottage, and I'll just be thinking about what I was doing for the day, and then I'll get a great idea and have to turn right around and go back and make sure that it gets down somewhere, so I'm not forgetting it.
I,
Um, yeah, it's a mishmash of things. Sometimes I'll take like a part of a song that I kind of like and another part of a song that I kind of like, and they'll come together to make one song.
yeah.
Sometimes they split and make two songs. Sometimes elements of a bunch of things will come together to make one song.
Right.
It's always different.
That's right. My goodness. Well, the one thing that I love about you is your passion. I really do appreciate the energy that you bring to the music making process. I really do appreciate what you and how you present yourself what you present and how you present it, if I could get my words out correctly, on stage and in the video and all of the
Thank
footage
you.
that I've seen. With respect to production, know you love it, know you're passionate about it. What are the things that you best appreciate about the performance aspect? Because I see from the footage, what I see is one and the same. I see the same intensity and
Yeah.
intentionality that goes into both. What do you appreciate about stage work and performing your music?
Yeah, I really like to craft a show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I spend a lot of time thinking about set lists and how songs go into one another and kind of like what I'm going to say in between songs,
Yeah.
and how I'm going to tie in whatever themes of songs are, like how they're all going to blend together kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I like thinking about like little things like doing that acoustic-y intimate thing that I was talking about earlier, and like how that will shape a night kind of thing.
Yeah.
I also love when I can work with other bands and like how are we all gonna like shape a night together, like how who the order of things, and like I love when I can call them back up, like we
Yeah.
can all do some stuff together, and like a nice cover or something where we all get to sing along and the audience can sing along. And yeah, I really like to craft it
Mm.
as much as I can. um the stage, like performing, is such a high that like it's something that like when I don't do it every once in a while, I get a little weird. And like it'll be like why am I so like empty right now? It's like, oh, I guess it's been a few weeks since I've had a show. Like I've got to get back out there and like do it again. Um, yeah, it's kind of a different beast than the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it to be. I like to. Most of our songs kind of have our record version and our live version. Um, and unless like I specify to the band specifically, like this is what we're doing on this one, I let them kind of take it where they will because I
Yeah.
trust them and they're all great and like it's just gonna be awesome no
Yeah.
matter what. Um, so yeah, it's more of a collaborative space probably than the studio.
Yeah.
And it's always just about how can we give people something that they'll take home and never forget kind of thing. Um, yeah, like always trying to make sure that like it's a paying audience, right?
All
Like we
right.
gotta satisfy.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah.
That's absolutely right. Now let's flip it on its ear then. And what are the challenges or pressures of performing and in production? I know you spent the 6 hours trying to get the mic exactly right, but that's to me, that's not a pressure. That's just trying to get it right and get that
Yeah.
sound. But are there specific challenges that you find personally about performing or about production that you are still trying to work around?
Production, mostly it's just deadlines. Like if I never I never think things are done and I could spend like years on a record
Right, right.
if that made any sense at all. But like there comes a point in time where you gotta call it. Like you gotta put it out there or else what's
Exactly.
the point kind of thing.
Right.
That's the biggest issue I always have. And I'll spend a lot of sleepless nights thinking like, oh, I could just tweak this, or if I could just tweak that. But sometimes you got to be like, no, 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 that's enough. Like
It's done.
it's okay. Once you start changing and unchanging and rechanging, and then you kind of realize, okay, I'm just crazy.
Right.
Um, but yeah, with live performance is a little bit of a different story. I think what we struggle with a lot is we are a loud band.
Mm.
A lot of my like tone alone comes from a dialed Marshall amp. Like, and there's kind of no way around that. Like, that's just the sound of the band, and like that's how we do it, and we're okay with it. We're a little hard of hearing, but we're okay with it. Um, and I think finding, especially in the post-COVID world, finding venues that we fit into,
Mm.
because a lot of places are struggling, a lot of places are shut down, and even a lot of places are doing okay, but still um, rebooking stuff that they had through the pandemic, and like
Correct.
they're just full. Um,
Correct.
So yeah, just finding venues that we don't, you know, hurt anybody in, um, is probably one of the bigger challenges there. The other thing is just like the rising cost of touring, like the gas prices that are kind of chilling out now, but like for a little while we actually had to cancel a run of shows because we couldn't afford to
Sure.
go out and back kind of thing with accommodation and the cost of gas. We do not travel light. So
Yeah.
uh yeah, it would have been just not a good business decision to go ahead with that, which is a
Exactly.
hard call to make, because obviously you want to take every performance opportunity you can.
Yeah.
Um, and like it's would be so much fun to play in all these places I've never played before.
Right.
But at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Which was sort of tough, I guess. Like we felt good in the decision, but didn't feel good about feeling good about the
Of
decision, if
course.
that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense.
yeah, yeah. That's the real trick, I guess,
Hmm.
for our last little bit of touring. Um, but yeah, there's nothing. They're kind of good problems to have. At least we're getting the shows way
Right.
away that we couldn't get to. You know, like there were people that wanted us to come hear us. So like that's something to take away from.
Hmm.
And like we still have great connections with those venues and those people. Like we will get to them one day. It
Exactly.
just didn't work out at the time. And even with the studio stuff, yeah, sure, a song's never done, but that's just as much of a good thing as it is a bad thing. We can do different
Remix it.
versions and
Right.
change it up. We can try stuff. Yeah, they're sort of good problems to have at the end of the day, I think.
That's absolutely correct. I'll ask you one more question in line with that is did you do any streaming shows when you couldn't get out and perform, or what's your strategy on streaming live?
We did a couple. I don't tend to like them.
Hmm.
Um, because how so much of our act really is like the connection with the audience, and
The
when it's
interaction.
not immediate and
Yes,
when we
yes, yes.
can't really interact like
Yeah,
normal,
yeah.
it it doesn't feel quite right. It
Sure.
was sort of like it was sort of it was not it
Yeah,
wasn't scratching that it kind of thing.
I understand
We
it.
did do a couple, like when asked to. I didn't really seek any out, but
Yeah.
when they found me, I didn't say no, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, we did a great one, and the thing I found most about them is like it's just like we still kind of did get that connection, but
Hmm.
it was a more prolonged over time thing.
Gotcha.
Like a great guy who's now become a really great friend, and we've done so many amazing live shows together. My pal Stephen James Orr from Toronto up here,
Hmm.
um, he reached out in COVID and asked if I would do a live stream with his kind of concert series thing, and we had mutual friends, so I was like, absolutely. And just a short little acoustic set, just intimate in my living room. Um, and like now he's a great friend, a great resource for stuff. Like through him I've met so many more amazing musicians and people, and got to do shows with so many great people.
Wow.
So like yeah, that was a like we got there in the end. It just kind of took 2 years. um, and then we recently did a festival out of Toronto called Winter Folk,
Hmm.
that had to be pushed online because of our last lockdown just in January there at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Um, and that was a tricky one just logistically to get something out to them quickly.
Right.
And that was a little bit of a different one because it was like a pre-recorded video, and all the artists sent in a pre-recorded video, and then they
Ah.
created a thing and then live streamed that. Um, so there were definitely challenges to that. Like there's a lot of songs we can't do. Like
Mhm.
obviously we were locked down, so it was just me and dad. Um, and like we can't do the big amp loud thing. It
Right.
just doesn't work. Um, which is fine. Like I love doing a few acoustic songs every now and then, but I really only have a few acoustic songs, and we had to fill up so much time. And yeah,
Long
we had to,
solos.
yeah, right. We had to get creative a little bit, but again, like, there are great relationships that we made through that are
Yeah.
still growing and still, like, we haven't really seen the full benefit of that yet. But I'm excited to kind of see where those connections can go. I think actually there have been a few patrons of that live stream that I've since met in real shows, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still kind of seeing like where those kind of like long-term slow growth relationships will take us, which is kind of exciting. And yeah.
Those are the best ones, though, because they grow organically and you're
Yeah,
able to really foster and nurture them. And that's what's going to help you in the long run.
exactly. Yeah. And
Like
that's
this
what's
one, like this one right here,
right. Yeah.
because I mean, we really, we took in so many incredible submissions, but it was something about the way that you approached your song. It was the beginning, obviously, because of TV time, we had to kind of edit it a little bit on the front end and the back, but lovely stuff that you do, man. Just, I had to reach out to you. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
But let me ask you this last question, Josh, and it is really the answer to the unasked questions, because obviously in the interviews you do, you're probably given, hey, we're going to ask you this, that, or the other. And perhaps you thought, well, when Jerry calls, he's going to ask me this question that every other interviewer asked me, but I didn't. And you want to answer that question. Do you have an answer for the unasked question?
Um, that's a good question, actually.
It really is. See?
That's a that's a whole that's a lot for my tired brain, actually. But I don't know really. I I get really rambly in interviews like this and kind of forget what we've covered and stuff. Like I could go for days. Um, but I think I really don't know. I guess that's my answer.
You know,
I guess
we've
the only
covered it, huh?
the unanswered question is just like it's more of a it's less of a question and more of just to put it out there to anyone watching or listening to that like if you connect with something that we were chatting about, don't be afraid to reach out and follow up, or like I'd love to chat more with anyone who wants to, really.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point of this business and this like creative endeavors, is to meet people and chat with people and get to know people. And like I'm I'm here, I'm open. Like reach out on social media or whatever. Like let's chill.
Absolutely. Well, I've enjoyed our time together. I know it won't be the last time, and there's nothing but incredible success in front of you. And those of you who are listening to this podcast or even watching, when you go to joshritchie.com, it's a very well laid out website, very great EPK that's on there, great media, great music, great videos, and I contend that this young man is going to be a man to watch as the 20s continue to unfold. I mean that with all my heart, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. That means so much. And just thanks for chatting. Like this was awesome. I love these. I love doing this kind of thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being a wonderful conversationalist. I appreciate you, brother. And I appreciate you too. It's wonderful when you jump in with us, and we try to present the best of the best. As I said before, whether they are Grammy-winning icons or those who have just dropped 2 or 3 EPs, we love them. We're all entre musicians, and we're all out here together. So check out Josh Ritchie, check his music out. If you are in Canada, go see a show, go knock on his door, go break down Ontario and try to get with this brother. He's very accessible, and you will enjoy having him as a friend and a musical compadre. My name is Jerry B. I definitely want you to check us out at the Entre Musician. Do it now. As soon as this is done, go to theentremusician.com, kick the tires, join us in our growing community. And also remember, I'm going to have the description of Artist Impact TV down in the description box. You'll see the links down there so you can click on and be exposed to even more wonderful artists. Peace and blessings to you. You have a great day. We'll see you next time. Peace.